Greetings to everyone. This is our Spiritist Psychology Study Group. Today or tonight, we have our two guest speakers, Dr. Lionel and Dr. Kai. The topic that we're going to be talking tonight is relationship with oneself. And before I hand it over to our speakers, I'd like to introduce and read the bio of our both guests today. So Dr. Lionel Corbett trained in medicine and psychiatry in England as a Jung analyst at the C.G. Jung Institute of Chicago. He is a professor of depth psychology at Pacific Graduate Institute in Santa Barbara, California. He is the author of 7 books. He is the co-author of 4 volumes of the collected papers, Psych Stories, Death Psychology, Meditations in the Field, Psychology at the Threshold, and Jung and Aging. This is our introduction to Dr. Lionel. And our other speaker is Dr. Kai. Just going to read her bio. Just bear with me 1 minute. So Dr. Kai Carvalho is a PhD psychologist, licensed clinical social worker, past life regression hypnotherapist based in the United States. She uses a Jungian and spiritual depth psychological approach in therapy. She is a co-founder of Anomalous Phenomena Group that researches and promotes studies in this area. She has written articles and done educational presentations in many areas of psychology. Dr. Kai Carvalho has been an adjunct professor for the past 7 years. She provides supervision and mentoring for graduate students in the field of mental health. Dr. Kai Carvalho completed her PhD in depth psychology with a specialization in integrative therapy and healing practice at Pacific Graduate Institute. Her research interests are in the areas of relationship among past lives, anomalous experiences, trauma complexes, and archetypal potentials. She is also interested in fractal ontologies and epistemologies in the area of psychology. She also holds BAs in Business Administration and Economics with studies in law from the Federal University of Minas Gerais, Brazil, and an MA in Clinical Social Work from the University of Arkansas in the Little Rock. So I would like to welcome our both speakers for our study group tonight. And I'd like to hand it over to Dr. Lionel Corbett for his talk.
Thank you, Fabricio. Well, I was asked to say a little bit about Jung's attitude towards reincarnation. And actually, there isn't a great deal to say because Jung was very concerned about his image. He wanted to appear to be scientifically respectable. He didn't write much about reincarnation, so his views were not well known. But there's no doubt that he and his inner circle, as it were very interested in reincarnation. And the only reference that I know there are a couple of references in the letters and one in the collected works. I think it's in the paper on Kundalini Yoga in volume 11, where he talks about the notion that every person is born with a certain spiritual endowment, an archetypal endowment, like a pattern or a blueprint for the development of the personality. And he said that archetypal endowment is exactly what's known in the Upanishadic tradition as the samskaras, which are like imprints on the soul from past lives. In other words, the blueprint which determines the way your life development unfolds he thought is based on these samskaras from past lives. The only other important reference that I could mention is that a woman called Sabine Lucas, Lucas, who was a Jungian who wrote a book on the way past lives appear in dreams. I can't remember the title of the book, but that was the something like Past Life in Dreams or something like that. She posted a video which is on YouTube, where a Dutch patient of Jung's called Erlo van Waveren, who had long analysis with Jung, talks about how he and Jung discussed reincarnation. And Van Waveren reports a dream of Jung. It's called the Row of Tombs dream, in which Jung dreams that he sees a row of tombs. And as he walks past these tombs, he realized that each one of them represents one of his past lives. And so that video is well worth watching. It's on YouTube. If you just Google, put in the space bar in Google, in YouTube, the Row of Tombs. It's a very interesting documentary about Jung and reincarnation. So that's really all I know about Jung's attitude to reincarnation. So I'd like to hear Kai now. Yeah, Row of Tombs. That's it. Thank you. Yeah.
Fabrice, could you please let me share my PowerPoint?
Yes, of course. Just 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's over to you.
Okay. I can't, it's not working. Hold on. I may need to leave and come back because it's not, I'm trying to, the control is not working. Just give me 1 second. I'll leave and come back.
Okay.
Okay. So while Kai is doing that, I just want to tell you guys that I have put the video in the WhatsApp group, okay, that Professor Lionel talked about. So all of us can have a look. And Lionel, while we are waiting for Kai, if we have time, you can answer now or later. In this video that it talked about, Van Waveren said that Jung was a mystic, that he had said to Jung or something like that, that you were a mystic, and that Jung was kind of amazed, a mystic. He would like to be called agnostic, right? But what I think it's interesting that we could discuss later is that he talks about the age of Pisces, right? Pisces age, Pisces or Pisces? How do you say? Pisces age, yeah.
It's Pisces.
Pisces, okay. So,
age of Jesus.
Okay, thanks. And the Aquarian age and the spirit of time. But I would like to, I don't know if Kai was able to get to put her PowerPoint now. Is she out, Fabrizio?
No, she's backing now.
Okay, just we can discuss that later because I think it's great the way that you know, to have this discussion, because Joanna also says talks some things about that that the age of Pisces we are like heading in opposite directions. Okay, it's represented by two fishes swimming in opposite directions. Like in spirit and matter are not related, and that in the Aquarian age, we are supposed to like integrate the rational and the irrational, for instance. But I think we can talk about that later after Kai's presentation. Is that okay to you, Lionel?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Do we have Kai, Fabrizio?
Yes, she was in, and I think she dropped off again. Just double check that.
Okay.
While we
Thank
wait,
you.
can I say something, Anahy? May I?
Yes, go ahead.
Because I work as a past life therapist, and I've done a lot of work with people through dreams that they had, and we found their past lives. And a lot of things could be resolved like that.
Oh, that's great.
Usually
So,
repetitive dreams, say for instance, the people who dream often that they are flying. An example, repetitive dreams usually is something to do with past life, and it's quite easy to work with that. That's all.
oh, that's great, because then you can share with Kai, right?
I think Kai is back.
I don't know what. I'm sorry. So can I start?
Yes, please.
Mm-hmm. So, okay.
Yes.
Yes, everybody can see it?
Yes, very clearly.
Okay. Journey through reincarnation, the repetitive patterns in ourselves. I'm presenting this topic as a depth psychologist, a Jungian-oriented researcher, and a scholar and a writer. This presentation before I go there, I just want to read this beautiful quote from Voltaire. It is not more surprising to be born twice than once, right? So then let me go to my presentation. I'm presenting this. This presentation will be divided in 5 parts. Historical perspective of reincarnation. I'm expanding the idea of reincarnation, not just through the Spiritism, but from other religions. Then I will talk about karma and past lives, trauma and complex. Then I will exemplify the topics above with some of the outcomes of my research, and I will end with a brief conclusion. Ideas of reincarnation. Reincarnation has been a polemical topic for many positivist scientists, but for other scholars, it's not surprising at all because it is already part of their ontological approach, what means the way we see or understand reality. It seems that the idea of reincarnation has been around since 10,000 years before Christ, according to theologist, journalist, and physical researcher David Christ Murray, who said that, open quotation, reincarnation may be one of the oldest beliefs in the world. His assertion referred to corpses belonging to the New Stone Age period, buried in fetal position and found by archaeologists who justified the fetal position as based on the belief that it would facilitate rebirth after death. Later, researchers suggested the idea of reincarnation. Psychiatrists Alexandre Moreira Almeida and Mariana de Abreu Costa and philosopher Humberto Schubert Coelho, who studied the science of life after death at the Research Center in Spirituality and Health at the Federal University of Juiz de Fora, Brazil, asserted historical and archaeological research has concluded that many afterlife beliefs and burial rituals in primitive societies actually denotate some sort of reincarnation beliefs, but were previously interpreted as a different form of belief in the afterlife. In many Eastern and some Western philosophies, reincarnation refers to the idea of a soul or spirit being reborn many times in different physical bodies until the process of karma has ended. According to the Dictionary of Gnosis and Western esotericism, the idea of reincarnation was accepted widely in the world until the end of the Roman Empire. And it continued to be accepted in many cultures where Buddhism and Hinduism are the central religions. After the turn of the 20th century, reincarnation became a widespread idea among the European middle and upper classes. Astronomer Camille Flammarion, writer August Strindberg, and the founder of the Ford Motor Empire, Henry Ford, the educator and founder of Spiritism, Allan Kardec, and Gabriel Delane and Leon Denis, main exponents of Spiritism after Kardec's death, are representative examples of those with positive regard for the phenomenon of reincarnation. An increasing number of societies disseminating the concept of reincarnation appeared during that time, such as Anthroposophical Society, the Lectorial Rosicrucianum, and Scientology. Jungian analyst, regressionist therapist, and transpersonal psychology scholar Roger Wooger cited a long line of distinguished minds in the West attracted by the idea of reincarnation. Among them, Goethe, Benjamin Franklin, David Hume, Schopenhauer, Tolstoy, and T.H. Huxley. A massive critique of reincarnation is, however, still prevalent in Europe since the early modern period due to the presence of Christianity. When I'm talking about Christianity, I'm referring to Catholics and Protestants.
Dr. Kai, your slide is still on the previous slide. No, okay. Now we moved. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yeah, well, I don't have everything written, so I'm moving slowly with them. Sigmund Freud, for example, a neurologist and father of psychoanalysis, was opposed to the idea of reincarnation, criticized it as a return to the old Western spirituality consisting of, open quotation, the Greek mystery schools, the Christian Gnostics, the medieval heretics and witches, healers and shamans, the alchemists, mystics, and psychics of all shades whose visions fail to conform to prevailing Christian orthodoxies, whether Catholic or Protestant. Furthermore, in one of the letters to Jung, Freud wanted him to be aware of becoming lost in, open quotation, the black tide of mud of occultism, end quotation, during his trips to the colonies in Africa. Jung's scientific work does not show his devotion to occultism. However, his studies demonstrate an expansion of the unknown levels of the psyche in various areas such as philosophy, religion, and parapsychology. Jung had a number of mystical experiences, and he wanted to keep an open mind about psychic phenomena. Regardless of the criticism of the idea of reincarnation after the mid-20th century, there was a massive diffusion of reincarnation ideas outside institutional associations, for example, the New Age movement, and in growing market of esoteric literature. Statistical surveys suggest that some between 10 to 30% of the population of Europe and North America, I think it's more than that, believe in reincarnation. Chris Murray emphasized that the increase of interest in the ideas of reincarnation in the mid-20th century occurred due to the pop singers, hippies, and counterculture movements, bringing Eastern religions to the West. More importantly, the information promoted changes in the attitude of Western theologians and the other thinkers. Psychiatrist Ian Stevenson, who has conducted research on the belief in reincarnation, clarified that believers from many minority groups all over the globe and within the Hindu and Buddhist populations possibly outnumber the number of people who rejects the idea. Among the minorities, he mentioned the large groups of Shiites, Muslims of the Western Asia, the inhabitants of West Africa and East Africa incompletely converted to Islam and Christianity, the native tribes of Northwestern North America, the Trobriand Islanders, the tribes of the Central Australia, the Ainu of Northern Japan. Stevenson identified Brazil as another country with minorities that have beliefs in reincarnation derived from Africa. Spiritism, a Brazilian religion with more than 20 million members who profess a belief in reincarnation, is a Christian religion that originated in France with Kardec's studies of anomalous phenomena and publications of Spiritism codification books. In addition, according to social psychologist educated in Jungian Analyst Ana Luisa Teixeira de Menezes, the indigenous people in Brazil following shamanism are also believers in reincarnation, and indigenous peoples in other regions of the world exhibit the same ideas as the native Brazilians. The concepts of past lives are passed in society, not just through written scriptures, but also through oral traditions. As the indigenous communities, Stevens asserted that those communities have obtained these beliefs from people in their cultures who claimed to remember previous lives. Colonizing Christians who generally imposed their religion ideas on indigenous societies deny the idea of reincarnation, which was also criticized by scientific elites and or suppressed by dominant force of many countries, thus establishing the idea of existence of one lifetime as the norm. Overall, reincarnation may not be seen strange to the majority of humanity, but only to some largely European ethnic groups. Moreover, German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer, when defining Europe to an Asiatic person, remarked, "It is the part of the world completely dominated by the outrageous delusion that a man's birth is his beginning and he is created out of nothing," as cited in Stevenson, which said Stevens reflects the expansion belief in reincarnation in his time and indicates that denial or acceptance of reincarnation is at least debatable. An intended aspect of the part of this presentation is not to convince the audience of the veracity of reincarnation's ideas. And as I know here, most of us are in favor of that idea, but to demonstrate its belief by more than half of the Earth's population. Intersections of karma and past lives. Past life regression therapist John Amoroso described the belief of reincarnation as, open quotation, grounded in the idea we have lived before and that we will live again, end quotation. He also emphasized that our personality, patterns of behavior, skills, interests, sensitivities, difficulties, and even physical conditions tend to have their roots in past lives. Although more than half of the world population believes in reincarnation, their concepts about past lives are various. Even when those ideas are dissimilar, they have some commonalities. And one central pillar is the concept of karma, which is defined as an action that brings upon the door inevitable results, good or bad, in this or future incarnations. The doctrine of karma applies not only to individuals, but can be seen as collective regarding races, ethnic groups, nations, cities, and communities. Uger reported a common position on reincarnation and karma. The soul that rises at birth has lived many lives in numerous bodies, accumulating merit or demerit as the karmic consequence of actions previously performed. Selfishness sown in one life is reaped as a misery in another according to the universal laws of psychic cause and effect, called karma. The idea of karma is intrinsically connected with past lives, but difference in the conceptualization of karma exists. For example, The most well-known concept of karma in the world is related to Hindus and Buddhists. Emphasis on moral conduct as the greatest influence on positive or negative aspects of future lives. In Hinduism, karma is the force of creation, wherefrom all things have their life. In Buddhism, when a person is trapped in a vicious circle where every action generates further actions, this is samsara, like Dr. Corbett said, the round of birth and death, and it is driven by karma, the never-ending chain of cause and effect, generating multiple lifetimes. This belief in karma holds that the effect of one's actions does not occur in the present life. It will, if it does not occur in the present life, it will in the future lifetimes. When the person transcends the state of samsara, they reach a state of liberation, where karma has ended. Karma can be conceptualized not just as pertaining to individuals, but as a complex, intertwined relationship mechanisms among many individuals, as in family karma. Kevin Kodesh, an author and speaker in the field of metaphysics, wrote about Edgar Cayce's definition of family karma. I really like this definition. He defined life as a lawful experience due to the universal laws of reincarnation and karma that draw individuals together, rather than being some type of unavoidable destiny or fate about which one can do very little. Cayce's definition instead portrays karma as essentially an unconscious reservoir of information stored within the soul's memory. Although this memory may draw certain events and individuals to one another, personal free will and the way in which an individual responds to that memory determine their actual life experiences. According to Kodesh, Cayce claimed that all individuals are brought together within their respective families to learn specific lessons and have opportunities for personal soul growth. He clarified that the universal laws of reincarnation and karma illustrate the lawfulness of life, reinforce the nature of individual responsibility. Kodesh stressed Cayce's notions that whatever karmic lessons individuals seem to be faced can be met with personal free will. Free will gives an individual the chance to respond to karmic lessons in different ways, increasing the karmic connections of releasing from their debts when paid. Due to the purpose of this presentation, it is essential to discuss another version of karma conceptualized by Spiritism. Spiritism follows some ideas of Buddhism and Hinduism regarding reincarnation, but disagrees that a person may return as an animal. Talking about the ducks, right? Spiritists believe in the evolution of kingdoms, starting from soul grouped as minerals, plants, and wild animals. I'm sorry. And wild animals, reaching some independence as domestic animals and achieving the opportunity to use free will with time as humans. Electrical and engineer investigator of physical phenomena, Gabriel Delany, that most of you are very familiar with, asserted that in this prodigious multiplicity of living beings, all degrees are observed. The manifestations of intelligence can almost be confused in the lower realms with pure physiochemical reactions, determining those mechanical movements to which physiologists have given the name of tropism. When one ascends the ladder of beings, all uncertainty disappears and a true psychism, psychic or mental activity manifests itself. Delany clarified that all being learned by experience, and the law of cause and effect includes the idea of consequence, whereby for each action there is a reaction, known as karma. In Spiritism, karma is explained with the law of cause and effect. What you plant, you harvest, and therefore future lives will be determined by behavior in the present life. The Spiritist book by Kardec, channeled by the mediums, also explained that older souls are able to choose their future family and consequently their parents in future life, as proposed by Stevens, because they had resolved karmic debts. However, young souls follow the direction of their guides and the karmic consequence of past actions. Now we are moving to trauma and the creation of complex very briefly, and then I'll keep going in that direction. Before I start this part of the presentation, I want to describe a word that I have coined, trans-lifetime. This word refers to events experienced from one lifetime to another, from one past life to another past life. Maladaptive patterns of behavior can cause people to remain suffering during their entire lives. Some of these behaviors have their origin in traumatic situations. Psychiatrist and traumatologist Paul Valent asserted that the description of trauma may be difficult to articulate clearly because it is usually an experience felt through the body and not verbally expressed. As psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk observed in his book, The Body Keeps the Score, the imprints of traumatic experience experience are organized not as coherent narratives, but in fragmented sensory and emotional traces, images, sound, and physical sensations. Trauma is a pervasive illness that usually does not go away unless some work, usually in therapy, is done. Valent noted that trauma always leaves an imprint that creates physical and emotional vulnerabilities manifested through symptoms and illnesses. According to Jung, the emotional imprints left by trauma create complex. He claimed that complex are in fact splinter psyches. He wrote, the etiology of the orange is frequently a so-called trauma, emotional shock of some such thing that splits off a bit of the psyche. Certainly, one of the commonest causes is a moral conflict, which ultimately derives from the apparent impossibility of affirming the whole of one's nature. Jung added that a complex must be taken seriously because it's real, something unpleasant that causes pain and requires psychological attention to understand. He described complex as autonomous and specified that they make up the structure of the unconscious psyche, personal unconscious. Therefore, as objects of inner experience, are not to be met in the street and in public place. It's very private, right? Emphasize the power of complex. He said that instead of people having complex, open quotation, complex can have us, end quotation. According to Stein, Jung described complex as being made of associated images and frozen memories of traumatic moments that are buried in the unconscious and not readily available for retrieval by the ego. Stein added that complex are repressed memories held in place and colored by emotions. Most of the time, one is not aware of one's complex. Corbett described a complex as acting like an unconscious template in the mind. imprinting upon one's current relationships the patterns of early ones. Traumatic events are common in human experience, but the level of resilience, which is the capacity to adapt to stressful traumatic events, is very individual. Consequently, trauma may affect a person in different ways, including physiologically and psychologically, sometimes creating long-standing complex. According to Uger, for many people, the body is a very unconscious area and therefore stores some of the most residual or deeply buried complexes. Expanding the idea of trauma occurring not only in the present life, but also in the past lives, he posited the possibility that trauma from previous lives carries over into the present life in the form of complexes. Regarding the mechanisms of soul evolution, which may include interlifetime trauma, Joanna de Angelis, known as a spirit author and guide channeled by the Brazilian medium Divaldo Pereira Franco. I'm just explaining because some of the people that I invited may not be familiar with her work. So she said, the integral being is a traveler of eternity, making his progress step by step in such a way that the experience living each carnal journey establishes the mechanisms of evolution in reference to the next one, providing him with endless development. She remarked that the concept of reincarnation contributes to and I think I forgot to move, reincarnation contributes to the multiplicity of psychological content in the individuals. Uger compared trans-lifetime, that's why the word is important to understand, complex to karmic residues, citing a modern scholar of Indian philosopher Karl Popper, who explained that individuals bring from lifetime to lifetime karmic memories that are activated by life circumstances, producing memory of the original acts, causing affliction. In this context, Jung referred to the Hindu notion of samskara, as explained by Dr. Corbett, or imprints on the soul from past lives as the source of humans' archetypal endowment, which may form the core of complex. Because we carry complex in our trans-lifetimes, which is explained from one lifetime to another lifetime and to the present life, we attract the same life experience, the same patterns, and we respond similarly to the same challenges until we do the work necessary to change these internal patterns, integrating this complex. I'm going to bring now just two of the outcomes of my research. And I want to bring some of, and to exemplify reincarnation, karma, complex and repetitive patterns in ourselves and how they are intertwined. I just want to clarify that my research was not in reincarnation complex, but on the intertwining theories involving complex associated with past life karma and the awakening of individuals' archetypal potentials. I did 6 in-depth interviews, and I'm going to be very brief here, with participants who had experienced trauma and used the past life hypnotherapy approach to heal themselves. And these are some of the results. The participants used flower names to protect confidentiality. I will start. Can you see the title, right? Intersectionality. Can you see it? Or is there?
Yes, you can.
Yes. Intersectionality of traumatic patterns recognized in past lives and present life. Cactus flower is one of the participants, identified a repetition of traumatic deaths in group massacres or personal physical attacks in most of her past lives and present life. But as she explained, she was able to overcome them by doing psychological work. Sunflower perceived very specific trans-lifetime patterns, including in her present life where she was unfortunately raped and had injuries. Lucas, cited by Dr. Corbett, explained that the purpose of karma, repetition of traumatic patterns, is not punishment. Instead, it offers opportunities for an individual through reincarnation to learn what their action had caused for others and vice versa. Certain philosophers call this law the cause and effect. If the individual does not learn the consequences of his actions, a repetition of trans-lifetime karma will occur, and the creation of new karma will continue until the individual learns the lessons related to those experiences. The analysis of participants' inquiries about their suffering reveals a repetition of the same traumatic behaviors and events in many lives, including the present life. Sunflower's repetitive traumatic experience with the theme of mothering, when she lost her babies and died, was punished for not being able to conceive in some of her past lives, and almost died during childbirth, going into a coma in this lifetime, exemplifies the concept. She endured the same traumatic outcomes from these situations without experiencing any resolution for the problems until she learned from psychological work. The patterns of not being seen or not wanting to be seen by Lilac in her past lives and present life represent an infinite repetition of the same traumatic behaviors in trans-lifetime, generating the same outcomes until healing took place. The exemplification of those trans-lifetime patterns brings about an understanding of the problems where changes can be implemented, make the unconscious conscious, and restoring choice. As demonstrated in the finds, participants recognize both personal and collective patterns in their lifetimes. Petunia noticed traumatic collective patterns in her past lives and present life related to pandemic events and genocides. According to Vanderbal and Nordergraaf, processing of core issues helps one to free oneself from repeating the cycle of these patterns, thus opening space for transformation. As a healer and health practitioner, Peony recognized a repetitive pattern from her trans-lifetime experience, including the present life in which she had to sacrifice herself to heal others. Lucas explained that what happens in each lifetime sets energy fields that are carried forward to other lifetimes and determine their patterns, which explain the repetition of the same patterns. Lily found notably significant patterns of sexual abuse in her trans-lifetime experience and their connections with the physiological and psychological symptoms that she experienced in this lifetime. In her explorations, the pattern was represented as a red thread connecting all of this experience. Pesci asserted that it's essential to understand the theory of reincarnation and the consequences of our behaviors, because it explains the tapestry of consciousness to understand our lives as a whole, which shows past patterns that contribute to our suffering and life challenges, and this knowledge creates opportunities for changes. Karmic patterns continue to happen until one reaches the understanding of them and takes steps to recognize the patterns and does the psychological work necessary to change them. The idea of cause and effect can be seen as an archetype as proposed in this research. The cause and effect archetype creates karmic trans-lifetime dynamics, generating infinite repetitions of behaviors, causing the same outcomes whereby the individual is exposed repetitively to the same situations until a particular lesson is learned or integrated. I'm almost there. This is the second one, and I will come with the conclusion. Identification of relationship of complex in present past lives. The participants identified more negative than positive complex from their trans lifetimes. They described the complex as charges of energy. This research suggests that psychic energy might be what Jung called libido. Peony recognized the outsider complex as one that came up doing her work on past life hypnotherapy and was present in all her past lives and her present life. The lack of acceptance from other cultural groups and even from her own social group create emotional trauma that gave origin to the outsider complex. Another complex found by Peony was the imposter syndrome, a cluster of challenging feelings that she identified about herself, such as not feeling good enough and not deserving good things. According to Jung, these emotional imprints left by trauma create complex. He claimed that complex are in fact, open quotation, splinter psyches, end quotation. As a woman or gay man in her past lives and present life, Lilac's behavior of hiding or not wanting to be seen formed a disempowerment complex, contrary to her past life as a visible and powerful straight man, where she had discovered an empowerment complex. Sunflower described the same disempowerment complex in one of her past lives as a woman who had to endure an unhealthy relationship with no option to leave it. According to Stein, Jung described complex as being made of associated images and frozen memories of traumatic moments that are buried in the unconscious and not readily available for retrieval by the ego. Another complex experienced by minority groups and recognized by several participants is the victim complex, which they associate with violent situations such as being raped, sexually abused, brutally murdered, a victim of violent accidents, and ending up dead or paraplegic. Petunia perceived a family complex in all her past and present lives. She did not see this complex as negative, but she recognized her feelings of being responsible for the destiny of her family in her past lives and still feels the weight today in her present life. Because of the collective suffering experienced due to the pandemics, famine, and genocide in all her past and present lives, Petunia recognized another complex that she called a calamity group complex that came together with the guilt complex for not being able to help the collective. Corbett asserted the importance of becoming aware of the complex that causes disturbance, both cultural and personal, in order to be able to mitigate their disturbing effects. Lack of safety and distrust of others are two complex recognized by Cactus Flower in her past and present lives due to traumatic experience of being assaulted and murdered in collective genocides. Cactus Flowers learned that the orange, this is very interesting, the orange of her PTSD, post-traumatic stress, forgot the D.
Disorder.
disorder, thank you, is from her past lives. When experiencing the complex, when explaining the complex experience in trans-lifetime, de Angelis, I don't know what is this, but de Angelis assert that the integral being, the self, is a traveler of eternity, making his progress steps by step in such a way that the experience living each carnal journey establish the mechanisms of evolution in reference to the next one, providing him with endless development. I am almost there. Lily carries imprints of a victim of sexual violence in her physical body and as a psychological problems, although she was never sexually abused in her present life. Contrary to sexual abuse experienced in her past lives, except in one where she was the perpetrator. Amoroso maintained that traumatic experience and transgressions in past lives are directly and indirectly carried into this lifetime. Past life traumatic experience can carry over to the next life, causing a direct impact on someone's current life. For example, inborn deformities in the body, or in Lily's case, painful intercourse. Psychologically negative complex are indirect impact in someone's life carried out through past lives that generate repetitive patterns of behavior, as seen in Lily identification of sexual violence as a trans-lifetime complex that she still feels she carries, causing their inability to have healthy relationships. Referring to Jung's concepts of complex, de Angelis assert that each individual deals with individual torments complex, but because of infinite richness within themselves due to their divine heritage self, the awakening of this potential by the ego helps one through suffering. So afflictions generate behavioral patterns, continuing to create karmic circumstances, constantly repeating themselves. Uger expand the idea of trauma as occurring not only in the present life, but also in past lives, posited the possibility that trauma from previous lives carries over in the present life in the form of complex. The research finds gleaned from the reports of the participants in the present study confirmed Uger's trans-lifetime ideas regarding complex. Conclusion. It's very brief. Many positivist scientists doubt or ignore the pervasive evidence for a spiritual realm of existence beyond what is experienced with the physical sense, even though it is now well documented that health, physical, emotional, social, and cognitive aspects of health are strongly promoted by an understanding of life that admits the reality of reincarnation, spiritual life after death, and the rich theories about the transcendent function of the psyche, which allows contents of the unconscious to move into consciousness. This is still a polemical subject in academia, including depth psychology. And I concluded with this quote from Jung. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. These are my references. If some of you want that, just email me and I will send to you. And that's it.
That's great. Thanks so much, Kai. Thank you so much. What a beautiful research. And I was just wondering, because I've put in the WhatsApp group, our WhatsApp group, a summary that I made of Joanna's some of Joanna saying in her wonderful book, Awakening the Spirit. And of course, you cited Joanna in some of your work, but I thought Joanna was with Kai and Lionel because this book of it's her book, Awakening the Spirit, is in the year 2000. And you see, 24 years later, let's say your work was presented last year, right, Kai? So 23 years later, you were talking, so much stuff that she said in some of her work. For instance, this wonderful book, Awakening of the Spirit. But so there are so many things to comment. I sent to you through your email, Lionel, the summary, if you would like to. But I think everyone here is in the WhatsApp group and has access to the summary, okay? And so since Kai has cited Joanna, and before we pass on to Lionel for that question, so we can think all together about the Pisces. Now I got it right, Sylvia? Pisces age and the Aquarian age, right? Because I think that's so important nowadays that we are in this apocalyptic age. We have talked about that some meetings ago. With a lot of things happening. So why are so many, so many shadows coming to light, as in this beautiful sentence that I love that Jung says. But Kai and Lionel and everyone, because I know that Sylvia also wants to share with us her thoughts. She's also a past life therapist. So in this summary that I've sent to you, Awakening the Spirit. So, and she talks about that in all her, 24, I can't remember, Fabrizio, how many books, but 18, I think, Joanna's 18, Joanna's books. Yeah, 18. So she talks, of course, yeah. So she talks a lot about that. But in his book, Awakening of the Spirit is the 10th, okay, in the line. And look at that, Kai. I was listening to you and say, check, everything that Joanna was saying because in the summary. Because the summary is, I put the first sentence, like, I read it to you guys, okay? For there to be expressive and healthy joy in mature psychological behavior, self-encounter becomes essential. All achievements of the intellect and even of the feeling that are not integrated into the cosmos of the spiritual being. I know you talk about fractals, that I think it's wonderful, yeah, in your... so I was just wondering to think with all of you why Joanna says all achievements of the intellect and even of feeling that are not integrated into the cosmos of the spiritual being. This expression, the cosmos of the spiritual being, because I started reading Joanna, and then I realized that if you read in a very quick way, okay, sometimes you are not going to grasp all the images. She brings these images that I think we should dive in when we are reading Joanna, I have never seen this, to integrate our achievements in the cosmos of the spiritual being. So I immediately connected with your research, Kai. When the healing happens to the person, of course, we know you talked about the transcendent function. So we know as therapists and analysts that we have to bring the unconscious stuff to consciousness, right? In the more integrated way that we are able to. But if we put together the spiritual knowledge that Spiritism and Joanna brings, we are talking about something else here in a healing that it's so profound that maybe we haven't realized yet. I think you did, and people like Sylvia that work with past life therapists or are already in contact with this kind of issue, because it's not only an integration in a sense of our ego with the personal unconscious, because we know that the complexes, of course, they have an archetype center, right, Lionel? But of course, our complexes are in our personal, in a sense. Freud also talks about that. So in our personal unconscious, but going deeper, that's Jung contribution, means going in what Lionel calls the transpersonal dimension of the psyche. So we are talking in a very deep way in the unconscious, and the Spiritist knowledge brings the connection between mind, spirit, and matter, because then it brings the spirit to the equation, okay? Saying, and then Joanna says, everybody knows that, that are listening to our meetings, that for her, the spirit, the self, capital S, Jung's self, is in a certain way our spirit, okay? Brings the knowledge of our spiritual being. So there is an integration that would go beyond only the ego and the depths of the psyche, but we would achieve the cosmos of our spiritual being. I would love to hear you and Lionel talk about that. There's a lot of stuff in the summary, but I think in this discussion, we should use Joanna just to think together and go deeper. What, in your opinion and Lionel's opinion, Joanna would mean, what did she mean integrating all our achievements intellectually and emotionally into the cosmos of our spiritual being? That's a question for you and Lionel. I don't know if who wants to bring on ideas first. Lionel, maybe you go ahead.
An example of an intellectual achievement that's integrated into our spirituality.
Because she talks, Lionel, about, that our emotions, feelings, of course, we know that, are, as Kai said, about our complexes, okay? So and also Kai was talking and referring to cause and effect archetype. I think it's wonderful to talk about in this way about cause and effect as an archetype. So of course they promote behaviors, right? And behaviors have consequences. So I think to what she's trying to say, I'll just give you she talks about the unconscious commands the conscious self through this is Joanna saying, through very well elaborated automatisms throughout the social anthropological journey, remaining more in the area of repetitive primary instinct that lucid, well-defined rationality. But when she talks about rationality, she's saying, bring into consciousness and think about it, okay? And then she says the automatisms of the unconscious function in such a way that is necessary to rationalize actions, to think about them, let's say, in order to acquire awareness of one's own reality in the process of full self-discovery. I think, I don't know if this answered your question, but I'm trying to bring Joanna's thoughts so that we can think together, because I was stuck in this and this image that she said, integrating everything that we evolve, that we get, conscious about, even our moral and our discernment about ourselves, what is shadow in myself, what it's already light, as Kai cited Jung in that beautiful sentence. So I think she's talking about all of that when she talks about achievements from the intellect, cognitive, from emotion and feelings, into the cosmos of our spiritual being. What do you think, Lionel?
Well, I'm not sure what she means, to be honest. I mean, I think of an intellectual achievement. For example, think of the discovery of the theory of relativity, or, the music of Bach, or the art of Rembrandt. Those are great intellectual achievements. So when she says they have to be integrated into our spirituality, does she mean that they have to be seen in terms of values and meaning and purpose, and that we have to see them as inspired by the self or something like that, that we shouldn't take credit for them, as if they come out of the ego, that they actually come from the depth of the self? Is that what she means?
No, I don't think she means that. I think because in Spiritism, okay, we talked about a lot about, I'm sorry about my cough, my voice, but we talk a lot about this cause and effect archetype, okay? And but also Kai cited samsara in the Buddhism concept. And in the Buddhism, this is very bad because you get stuck in reincarnation, right? And to transcend that, you have to illuminate yourself like the Buddha, right? But in Spiritism, I say that actually, and Joanna says that, we are talking about evolution, about learning with our mistakes. So I think, Lionel, because also in the Spiritism knowledge, we talk about the subtle body, remember? That we call perispirit, and that the subtle body in this life brings the information of everything that we have already achieved. So for instance, of course, we think about Mozart and his beautiful, or Bach, that you and I love, right? So of course, they are achievements from those spirits, but also from humanity, because we all share this common archetypes, let's say, and all this common spiritual knowledge that we produce in the transpersonal dimension. But I think she's talking here more about evolution of the spirit, and that everything that we get to know better, as Kai was saying, everything that heals us, the knowledge about ourselves that brings healing, that this is a process of integration, not only psychologically, but spiritually. Because I think for me, and I know that a lot of people are with hands up, and just a second, and then we will call you after Kai also talks. And I think, Lionel, and let's see what Kai thinks about, but I think she's talking about a deeper process of healing, not only in our psyche, but also in our subtle body, that we are going to go on in our evolution, because it's going to be integrated in the cosmos of our spiritual being. I think Ângelis is doing like that. So would you like Kai to give her impression?
Yes, I'd like to hear other people, yes.
Yes, I think nothing is lost. That's what she meant by that. So all the experiences acquired during our past lives are kept in record, in memories, in the subtle body, and Sometimes we don't have access to some of them because we need to develop other things, so they go to the unconscious. But sometimes we are able to access to the making the unconscious conscious, right? And applying the information that we got from before, learned from before, in the development of the things that we are doing today. So the integration, the information comes, we keep evolving constantly, but what we know is with us and it's not lost. In some religions or philosophies, sometimes they think, oh no, this goes to the totality. I think we learn from the totality, we learn we evolve with the others, we evolve together. There is a collective evolution, but also individual evolution. One sustains the other. And I think that's what she's talking about, the integrative process of going to your inner cosmos and also accessing the outer cosmos, the total. So we are all interconnected. But nothing is lost. I think we carry with us everything. And with time, as soon as we evolve more and more, we have more and more access to the things that we knew from before.
That's great. I agree with you. Yeah. Let's see. I think let's see what Sylvia. Well, I think Sylvia was the first to raise the. Yeah, Fabrício. Thanks, Kai.
It's a very interesting subject. Just one thing, Kai, I actually studied with Wooger. I studied with him for many years and I worked with him for many years. So he was a very good friend and guide and master of me. I loved him very much. I think I agree with what Kai was saying in the sense that what Joanna says is that whatever learning we will have with us. It be part of our individual, a whole, is in completing ourselves as a spirit, because in Spiritism we learn that we as a spirit are constantly learning. And eventually, we become an enlightened spirit with all the knowledge. And that is that thing about the wings, that you needed the moral wings and you needed the intellectual wings to be able to fly. And I think all this, we keep together, like I said, all the good and all the bad experiences that we have, all the wrongs that we've done. And I think one of the most important points that we learn in Spiritism, which differs sometimes from any other way that people see reincarnation, is that in Spiritism, we accept that reincarnation is a law of progress, that is not a punishment, is an opportunity that the soul has to readdress their wrongs and to do things that are right. And of course, we do have learning also while we are in the spiritual world, but we are really tested here when we are on a physical life. That's the anvil that we really prove that we have learned and everything. Just one thing about the reincarnation in the therapeutic work that I'm more familiar with is that whenever we're doing work as an individual, going back into our past lives, and it's very interesting because I think in a way there's a kind of control. We don't go to every life. We usually go to lives that we have unfinished business with, things that, still bother us. And although we can kind of forget, some people are living other lives while they are here now because they have some fears, they have lack of, they will not put themselves forward or anything. And there are many, many things we can talk for hours about that. But in the healing process, at least the one that I've worked with Roger Wooger, and I work with other people as well, Dr. Diana from Australia, but Roger was more, I liked his work better because he worked in the body where we really keep a trauma. It's very interesting that we can talk about this at another time, how we keep and how we can release trauma from the body. But when we are doing the work, usually we do the work through catharsis. You go back to what the problem is, and then you go back. And as you go out of that body, you look, to what happened. But it's almost like in an objective way, because you're outside looking into what happened, and you are able to analyze. And that's where the healing actually takes place. And you want not only heal the individual problem, but also the universal thing. Because I think one of the important things that we learn is that quite a lot of history has been very traumatic, and usually punishment, were in public, people died in wars, and we were raised with a lot of people. So sometimes when you are able to heal some of the things from the past, we are healing not only ourselves, but the whole of the universe in a way, all other human beings, because we are connected with one another. Us, I am a spiritist. I believe that we are children of God, and as a child of the same Father, we are all connected. And healing, whenever someone are able to heal himself, he's healing others as well, who maybe have the similar problem or feel the same way. And it's past life therapy is very powerful. And I myself had an something that happened. I used to have a physical pain that I had all my life, and I was able to clear it from working past life. So that's all. But it's a very powerful tool when you know how to use it. I know there is a lot of fashion and everything, but it can be very good. And I think that's what Joanna means as well, that we heal ourselves, we heal others, and all this knowledge is integrated, and that's how I feel.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you. Kai, would you like to answer, or Lionel?
Yeah, very quickly, Sylvia. I think, and when you said that, it explained the idea of, because you are looking with objective eyes of the 24th, a person of the 21st century that have lived many lives. Today, when you go back to a life that you experience some things, traumatic events, when you are able to integrate them with more knowledge, understand. So you remove yourself as the observer, and then you know that it happened before, and today you put together what you have experienced and make like the connection. You understand the patterns, right? And that's what causes the healing.
Exactly, yes, because also whenever you are in the life itself, that you're actually working in the life, you don't feel like a 20th century person. You feel like a 16th century person being persecuted as a witch and being in a trial for being a witch. And that's terrifying. Is terrifying. You don't feel like all this knowledge that you have, that you acquired afterwards, actually, but you feel as if you are there, that woman in the middle of those people trying to condemn her. Decide if they're going to burn her or put whatever, is the fear is real of the 16th century rather than 17th century, actually. Sorry.
Okay, thank you, Sylvia. I think Bianca wants, it's the next one.
So that the information what
Bianca, you're breaking up.
Or just wait a moment.
Maybe if your internet is unstable, maybe just close your camera and see if it gets better. Okay, try now.
Now you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
No,
You hear me now?
Yes.
I had my hands phone, and that's why I didn't. It doesn't make the connection. In Spiritism, the higher spirits learn us to integrate all the information, not just to read it, just to integrate all the information, even more than intellectual. And maybe that's why, that's how we can leave apart the automatic things that we are doing, and we become better. And this is for the Spiritism, what they learn us to do with all the information that we receive, not just to learn, just to read and to integrate. And what I want to say about therapy, and I'm agree what she said, because I also do the therapy and the regressions. More of our experience are manifested in here in this life, because with the person that I was working in each life that I was with her and make therapy here in this life was manifested some kind of a situation, and it was there. And every time we work therapy, and she leave away some kind of situation and becoming better every time. And this is how we have to work. We can do it with regression, but some other way to do the therapy to leave out our negativity and past events that we are not helping us to advance. This is what I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bianca. So it's not a question, it was a comment, right?
It is. It's my experience. It's what I was experienced, even experience with other person when I was making the therapy, but experience also when the others make the therapy with me, because I also do regression and leave away some negative experience that helped me be more liberated and more free for receiving and integrate other new ways of thinking, moral, intellectual, and everything.
Great, great. Thanks for sharing your experience. Thank you. I think it's Andres now. Andres, please.
Hi there. I had a problem with my microphone and everything because I'm in Spain. So I would like to go back to Joanna's original kind of demand on us, saying, do not forget, under no circumstances, forget to integrate with the cosmos. And I understand that very well, because this is the work I'm doing with most of the people. And it is really about self-empowerment. And it's all about the aha moment when it happens. It is not to fix or heal something. You need, because we are soldiers, we are field workers, we won the lottery, being born in this body. We are a part of something much bigger, which is ourselves, the higher self. We report at all times back to our higher self. At night when we dream, sometimes through the day, all experiences are perfect. The universe is perfect. God is perfect. None of what we experience, it's a mistake. We just see it as a mistake, so we don't have to take responsibilities. And we blame others, so we can't grow. So it's easier, isn't it? So as a collectiveness, we blame the government. We have chosen from doing wars and genocides and making us starve or not. But on the end of the day, we need to report that back to our higher self. And this is what she talks about, cosmos. We need to send it back. Yes, of course, everything is stored in our pure spirit, but this is not happening before we die. So we can still do a lot of repairs while we are talking now with our higher self. So any therapist, any analyst, any psychoanalyst, any card reader will always connect the soul with its higher self, because that is the real conversation which must happen. The rest, it's meaningless. It cannot heal itself. It can only heal through itself, with its higher self. Without the reporting back to the collectiveness, there is no, you might as well be dead. You might as well not breathe on this planet. It's like you're cut off, like a, you know what I mean? So the beauty of it, I had many of them. And one of them, of course, was having experienced death, having experienced grief, having experienced, but all of those things I have asked for. But I came out of them damaged nevertheless, and the recovery was on the physical body more than on the psychological body at the beginning stages, later on the psychological body, and it's still on the mental body. But I remember I came out of it when I had an aha moment. The moment I acknowledged and shared it and took it as a gift, it was over. It's so easy. And then I said, oh my God, it's so easy. Why didn't nobody told me that 5 years ago? Like, hypothetically, you know, everything what we're going through, you choose to go through this. And this is so hard to believe. The moment we choose to understand that we are the corporate, the moment we connect with the higher self and say, I have an aha moment, I get it, it's over. Within a second. But be careful what we wish for or what we wish away, because don't forget, it's a little bit like a Coca-Cola machine, you know, in a vending machine. If you put another pound in, and a new bottle arrives, you know. So sometimes it's good to live things out for a while and have the full experience, because we have more than one life and we will have endless of lives. So don't have too many karmic things in one life, because we will be worn out. That's what I say. I say, example, you know what? I would really like to have a break right now. I like to be sitting on the beach, because I've been going through hell the last 5 years. Look, I got it. I had to do it. I negotiate with my higher self. And now I'm asking, a little break, a little bit. So I left a little bit of a psychological damage behind. So I said, okay, I'm still working with this. And my higher self says, look, Andreas down there is not really finished yet. And like, okay, I'm not giving you that. Thank you very much. Call back after Christmas. So I'm making it a bit funny, but it is like that. I promise. When I work with my clients, when I work with my people, I make it really funny. It isn't heavy. It's really just part of life. Yes, we can make it as difficult and as hard and as suicidal as we want. It's all part of the experience. But we're talking about Joanna. Joanna says, you know, don't forget to connect to the cosmos. You need to send it home. It's no point putting your headphones on, walking down here and having your solo experience and not sending it back home. So this is what's important.
Thank you, Andreas. So now that you have said that, I think we should ask Lionel to comment. Because
Yes,
remember in the beginning that I have made the question about the Pisces age and the Aquarian's age. So Lionel, can you wrap up everything? It's kind of a lot. I know.
You want me to say something about the move from Pisces to Aquarius? Is that what you have?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how this is connected to reincarnation, but it's like the karma of the whole planet. The age of Pisces is basically the Christian era. The emphasis was on water. Pisces is a water sign, so you get an emphasis on baptism, walking on water, you know, fishermen, all that. And then the move to the age of Aquarius, nobody's quite sure when it takes place. It may be happening now, or it may have already started 100 years ago. Nobody's quite sure. Is an air sign. Aquarius is an air sign, so there'll be an emphasis on thinking, on ideas, on technology, space travel. Also, social and cultural factors are going to be very important in the Aquarian age. I don't know what more I can say about it, to be honest.
No, I think it's great, because I think a lot of people maybe are not. I think everybody's familiar with the names, but not what they mean, you know. And Andrew was talking about this part of that we have all been talking about, this part of giving back to the cosmos in a sense. And I think you mean, right, Andres, that about when we are like as one in the transpersonal dimension of the psyche, when the can we talk, Lana, about a collective self, like Edinger calls? Do you agree with that?
The
A collective self, like the self, capital S.
Yeah, but the self is the same in all of us. Is that what he means by the collective self?
Yeah, but remember in his book, what's the name of the book? The Transformation of the God Image, Edinger talks about a collective self as, and I think he means this, what Andros is talking in the end of the day, right? Andros, that we all as one, because we see ourselves as separate beings.
Yes.
Right? But in the end of the day, I think that you mean in the spiritual dimension, we have also this knowledge that we, I don't know if we say would say function as one, but that we share all of our experiences because
they move like water. Yes.
Our
consciousness moves like one large cosmos, like one large within this fish which moves around. But if you take a little, bottle of water, all right, one bottle of water, and you take a glass, and that's your higher self, and you put a bit of here. That higher self stays up here, and that's been sent to the earth, and it says in the back. But this, which is up there, it's separated within a vessel, but it's still collective of something bigger.
Yeah, Lionel talks about this one in his wonderful book, the Psyche and the Sacred, right, Lionel? About us being like fishes in the ocean. For instance, or waves of this ocean.
You're talking at a non-dual level where we're all connected, where we're really not separate. At that level, there are no others, really.
Yes.
Yeah, could we say, Lionel, that this change from the Pisces age to the Aquarian age, that it's they talk about that in the YouTube video that you cited. It's like it's kind of talking about also another step in our evolution of consciousness. Could we say that? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so, because Aquarius is an air sign which has to do with the mind. So I think there will be an emphasis on the intellect.
The last one was...
Sorry.
I think that it is basically the intellect, spirituality, humanitarian ideals, peace. And it's interesting because I think it goes with what the Spiritism teachings, that we are changing from a world of atonement into a love of regeneration. So I think it's been going on now, you know, maybe even from the ideas of the French philosophers, the Illuminists. It's a slow process. Humanity is changing. And I think we see now, you know, what Spiritism teaches, that a lot of people will be reincarnated because they have the last opportunity to reincarnate here, and then they will reincarnate in lower planets because those will go. And I think goes also with what Jung says, that humanity doesn't grow as a whole, but to be individuals, and the strength of their unconscious will lead others to follow them, isn't it? So I think we are in this process. Aquarius, you know, is peace, is health, is intellectual unity, and it's a lovely time. I know a bit about it because I'm an Aquarius, so I always read about it.
People, I think Lindalva has her hands up, right? Do we have time, Fabrizio? I'm totally lost in time. Yeah. Sorry, Andres, would you like to comment before we?
Yeah, we're more connected to the South than ever before, and the South is connected to the higher self, to the cosmos. So we're more seeing ourselves alive, and we're waking up. That means we're waking others up. We're waking ourselves up as finally as a collectiveness. So before we were driven by materialism, the outside. Now we're more from the inside. So we now finally humanity realizes that everything on the outside, it's what reflects how we are from the inside. And this means Aquarius to me, nothing else and nothing more. So we finally realize that the outside world is not dominating the internal, but the other way around, that we are the manifestors, and that is the age of Aquarius.
Thank you, Lindalva. Thank you, Andres.
I have to excuse
myself.
I'm sorry. I have to.
You have to leave? Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Lionel.
Bye, Lionel.
Hi, hello, everyone. Oh, it's been so great today. Thank you so much, Kai. Your presentation was absolutely amazing. One of the things that caught my attention is the exposition to the same situations as reincarnations, and also it was mentioned that until we learn the lessons. Could you give an example, Anahy, of how do we know we are learning these lessons? Because I know that a lot of us have the opportunity to get therapy, but a lot of us don't. So how do we sort of get to learn these lessons that we need to so that we can stop this repetition of the same situations?
Okay, so I will answer by Joanna, okay, because we are here to also get to know, and we are here talking about her psychology and the way that she put everything together, Jungian adapts concepts to Spiritism knowledge. She talks about, Lindalva, in the summary that I sent to you guys, that we should face ourselves calmly, okay? I know that and she knows that this is not always easy to do because we have to face our own shadows, right, Kai? And of the fears and difficult emotions that we bring to this life, as Andres was talking about. But she says that we should face ourselves calmly, manage negative values, stimulating positive resources without resentment of unfortunate occurrences or exacerbated joys, right? So if we pay attention what the mentor is saying, what this beautiful light teacher is saying, she said, she's talking about, and we are talking about in this course about self-discovery, right, Fabrizio? So that we have the ability, we can do that. Of course, we look for help, for therapists, for analysts, and and we should do that when we feel that we need. But Joanna says that we have, as individual, we have this ability to calmly manage, look at ourselves and manage negative values, and also stimulate our positive resources. She talks a lot about creative imagination. It's not exactly the same technique as Jung, but she talks about that. She talks about meditation, prayers, because when we alter our state of consciousness when we are meditating or prayer, for instance. And then we are doing that. Of course, everybody that has tried to meditate knows that in the beginning, a lot of, junk, you could say, a lot of negative emotions or thoughts come in our minds. But as Ângelis was saying, I like this idea of clouds, you know, just letting them go, just letting them pass by. But of course, identifying them because it's part of ourselves, okay? My thoughts and different feelings and emotions, not denying them, because it doesn't, if you deny them, you're not working with them, right? You are not integrating the shadow. So then if I know that I'm able to do that, I'm doing, as Joanna is saying, stimulating positive resources because I become more resilient. I become stronger because I can accept, and Jung talks about that, right, Kai? Yeah, that I can forgive myself. But first, I don't know exactly his words, but when he talks, I think it's in the Red Book, that wonderful conversation with his own soul, that to be able to forgive, that's what he's talking about, to forgive the other. I have first to forgive myself. And forgiveness it's all about understanding myself. How can I understand something if I don't identify, like discern that this is that behavior caused that emotion, or that emotion caused that behavior, whatever comes first. And that belongs to my experience, as Andrew was saying. And it's all archetypes that we share, but it's learning experiences. Of course, they cause traumas, as Kai was saying, and I would love to hear from her about that. And we have to heal our karmas. But Joanna is saying it's not only a psychological process, it's also a spiritual process, right? So, and she says that I'm just reading here for you guys. I think that's great, and sorry that Lionel had to leave, because in the summary you're going to read that when she talks about that, she says that the person carries out an expressive work of psychosynthesis. Okay, that is this integration, willing himself or herself to radically change disturbing concepts, to renew himself herself with a keen interest in eliminating the conflicts that stubbornly remain. Okay, and I think what John is talking about is what Sylvia and Kai were talking, and Andres also, people that are therapists and work with that. But I just want to finish that because I think it's a beautiful way to end before I pass on to Kai and Andres, and asking Joanna to answer you, Lindalva. And so she goes on saying the man and woman facing themselves in enriching self-analysis constitute the great goal of psychotherapy that frees the patient. Oh, sorry, I lost the paragraph. That frees the patient here. That frees the patient from any atavistic or recent conditioning, enabling them to walk on their own feet, to assume conscious responsibilities in relation to their own actions. And then she says, it is an Herculean effort, like Hercules, you know, which is compensated by the feeling of real freedom that I think it's Andrea was talking about, of internal growth, of a correct vision of the phenomena of existence, taking on other ventures without fear, which previously constitute great temerity. I think that's great. We all want to do that. And I think the world needs this healing that she is talking about. And maybe I think she's answering you, Lindalva. What do you think?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think because I had in mind forgiveness, and you mentioned forgiveness of oneself and others, and you mentioned that there. So that's spot on. Thank you.
You're welcome. Because you can only have compassion, Jung says, towards your brothers and sisters if you have first towards yourself. Before handing to Andres, Kai, would you like to comment in those sentences by Joanna?
Yes, and I thought about, as Lindalva asked, for example, when someone is going through suffering, something in life that you cannot change, right? Let's say it's an example. It's good to identify how you have responded to this suffering before and what you can do to change that. You are not going to remove the suffering totally, but you may alleviate it by the way you respond. An example, someone is going through a very hard time trying to find a job. It's just an example. And then the person at night feels terrible because they need to work and they cannot find a job. So the person decides to drink every night to alleviate suffering. What this person is doing, she or he is reproducing the same things, right? It is a coping mechanism, but it's negative. So if the one decide, no, at the moment I don't have a job, but I'm going to study something, I'm going to improve my, whatever it is, the process is changing. It's hard for the person to stop drinking, right? But drink is not going to solve any situation, it's going actually to increase the problem with time. So then the person says, okay, that's the problem, that's the pattern, what can I do? I think it's a very logical way, using the intellect to see how one can grow to the life experiences. So
thank you, Kai. Thank you so much. Andres, and then we are going to, I will just end with a sentence by Joanna. Go ahead, Andres.
I would just love to answer Lindava's question. She says, how can one move forward, or what can I do? Where do I start? I don't think they have to be so overwhelming. I think just like, sit in silence, be with yourself and find out, am I the victim here? Do I victimize myself? Forget about forgiving anybody at the moment, forgiving yourself, but forget about all of that. Just find out where you are inside. And, it's about self-empowerment. So the only reason why you feel the way you feel, we feel the way, because we are now, our power is taken away. So we are now being belittled. We're now being, now we want to retaliate. So what we have to understand is that we have caught this into our life. That's really difficult, but it works. Give it a try. And the more you repetitively doing this, saying, I'm not the victim. I'm not forgiving, because when you forgive somebody else, you make yourself the victim. Then you write the line of the victim. You're not the victim. You're the person who's calling this experience in. You have to take it now. And the only way to really kind of annihilate or kind of like free yourself from it is gratitude. Thank the other for the experience you were just to have. That's difficult, but that's really what this is here all about. It's about this kind of learning. No therapist, no analyst can help you with this. This is what you have to do with yourself. It can guide you towards it, but you still have to apply it to yourself. So it's about not being the victim, because that's not what you are. That's not what we are. We have caught this experience, how hard, difficult, whatever, for us to solve it. But it's not to solve it physically. It's solving it by applying gratitude to the other, because somebody had to do it. Somebody had to come. Somebody had to play the role. Somebody had to engage with you at that moment. We're focusing on the other, so we don't have to focus on ourselves. So this is all. That's what I would love to say with that. And it works.
Thank you.
You keep repeating this, and you repeat this. It's like, makes no sense. After a while, it becomes part of every day. And you look at a person who's bringing you something that's very aggressive, say, thank you so much for this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And when that comes really innately within you, you walk around. It's like somebody turned the lights on,
Thank you so much, everyone. That's been really, really great.
Thank you. So we are just finishing with one beautiful Joanna sentence. The human being is destined for the stars, self-illuminating with the splendor of wisdom, love, and knowledge in order to achieve the goal for which he or she was created, perfection. This is not a religious fantasy or a false premise with an illusory character, which the Son of Reality would immediately dispel, but of a right that is granted by existential fatality itself. Suffering is not part of the sovereign codes of life, constituting an experience of the mechanism of evolution through which the molecular changes of transitory forms are processed and used by the intelligent principle of the universe, which is the spirit. I don't think we need to talk anything else. This is wonderful. And I want to thank you so much, Kai, for your participation here. We hope you come other times and share with us your research, and maybe be with us pretty soon in September, right, Fabrizio?
Yeah. And what I would like to say also before we close, I'd like to mention the passing of someone who is very close to us here in the UK, Dr. Peter Fenech. He did a great, amazing work on what we are trying to do here to make this bridge between spirituality and science and psychology and psychiatry. He worked very close with us here on the Medical Association, the British Medical Association here in the UK. I'd like to actually read the quote that you share on the WhatsApp group. And then I would like to ask Sylvia to do a closing prayer for Dr. Peter Fenech with gratitude for all the work he's done for us here in the UK. And his sentence say, "The plain fact is that none of us understand this phenomenon. As for the soul and life after death, they are still open questions, though I, myself, suspect that near-death experience are part of the same continuum as mythical experience." Dr. Peter Fenech. So on that, I'd like to ask Sylvia to do for us the closing prayer for Dr. Peter Fenech to be welcomed in peace in the spiritual realm.
So as we come to the conclusion of our meeting today, there was so much learning, so much to meditate, and all the information that we received, and the wise words from Joanna. May that we be grateful for this opportunity that we have to be together, united, learning for the benefit of our spirit and the whole humanity. We are grateful for all those opportunities that we have for learning more, so that we can really find the compass of our lives, and that we may always head north with security and love. As we are united here in this moment of learning, of friendship, we think of a beloved friend and mentor, Dr. Peter Fenech, who has returned to the spiritual world on Friday morning. May, dear Lord, that he finds peace and the grace that he talked about, that he told people, and that he helped so many people in their transitions to the spiritual world with his knowledge and his kindness and his love. And we are sure that he have received the same grace from all those he helped before. We thank that we had his presence in our lives, his learning, and everything that he always was so kind and loving towards us, teaching us, helping us, guiding us in establishing the Medical Association, the Spiritist Medical Association, to take medicine to a higher level. And he worked all his life towards that goal, and he taught others to do the same. So there are many now following his example, and he has left us to continue the work. We think of his beloved wife, Elizabeth, which is a lovely person, and his children, grandchildren, and his friends. May they be sustained at this moment of loss and be granted peace and understanding. And we know they are at peace because of the work that he has left us. So as we close this moment, sending him our thoughts of love and grateful thanks, and ask our benefactors, our beloved Master Jesus, and our beloved Joanna de Angelis, to bless each and every one of us as we go through life. May that we make our lives worthy of all the knowledge that we have received. May your peace be in our hearts today and forevermore. Amen.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Anahy and Kai, for a beautiful presentation today. And I see you all next month for our last meeting for the 2024.
Yeah, unfortunately, I will not be able to be here, but it will be recorded, yes, so I will listen later. So I just want to take the opportunity to say goodbye to you, and thank you so much, Anahy, and everyone, and Kai, and every one of you. We're always learning from all of you. And have a Merry Christmas. May God bless each and every one of you. And we'll see you next year. God bless.
Thank you, dear. Thank